Opportunity coming to you today. We are in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Made it back. It's been a busy week. Got to see a lot of good friends. The thing about rodeo is you always run into great people. You know, I have friends across the country that I've met rodeo and would never have met them otherwise. Got to play some good golf. Actually got to play in a league as a sub, and I don't really have a handicap. So they give me a 12, which is pretty, that's probably right down the middle. Play 9 holes, shoot 38. Caused a whole big fuss and ruckus there. But, it's been fun. We've had a lot of fun. We made some good runs this week. Learned a lot about trusting my horse. You know what? Sometimes it's hard to forgive the discretions in the past. And sometimes that horse will duck out of the arena with me. Admiral will get like a little excited. And it kind of cost me a little bit, kind of playing that he was going to duck, and then he didn't. And I'm like, well, why are you being perfect now? But it worked out good. You learn something every time. I always talk about like bouncing, because you got to recognize mistakes, like if they're habits or if it's just an accident, So committing and allowing my horse to kind of, show me that I need to trust him more was a big step. We made a great run at Nampa, went 3-5. I didn't know my old self could go 3-5. Got a fast partner. That's the main thing. But today, big day on the Toter Tales podcast, coming to you live, brought to us by our friends ERS Gunite and Ready Mix, Tyler Boston. I'm telling you, I was not really wanting to step out on a limb and try this, but like Tyler's the kind of guy who makes you feel good about stuff. Like he made me feel comfortable, and if it comes to any concrete job or any big, gunite type job, he's going to make you feel comfortable about it. That's almost like a Toter Tales guarantee. 972-935-5769. Check him out, Tyler Boston, ERS Gunite. He is the driving force behind the Toter Tales podcast. So if you guys are enjoying it, give him a shout. Tell him thank you. Well, today I have a special guest. This is actually the first time I've met this nice lady. She's taking me on the Community Coffee Rodeo team. We're going to get to pick her brain. I believe she's from Louisiana. We're going to talk about everything. Why they eat mud bugs. I don't understand that. It's too much work for not enough food. So let me bring on now Ms. Leah Harrington.
Hello. Hey, Carlton. It's so nice to be here. I'm
Did
excited.
You just call me Carlton? I mean,
Carlton.
I can dance like Carlton.
Coleman.
Don't get me wrong.
Coleman.
That's why I tell everybody all the time.
That may be the Cajun coming out in my pronunciation here.
You see, that's the deal. We might have to work through a few bugs. Cajun, Okie. I don't pronounce some syllables. Neither do you, but we'll manage.
Well, here's the fun fact. I'm actually a Texan, and I'm transplanted in Louisiana. So I'm now, I've got a little bit of a Texas Cajun. I don't know what you want to call it. Yeah.
I like that. I do a lot of lessons in Center Texas and hang out there quite a bit. So, first of all, welcome to the Toter Tales. It's great to have you. It was awesome to meet you. Community coffee.
Yep.
Let's talk about it. That's what we drink here. It's our official coffee of the Toter Tales. You guys, I'll just be randomly picking up my community glass. Don't even worry about it. But what a great way to get the day started.
Oh, absolutely. So let me tell you, I first of all am so excited to have you on our Pro Rodeo team. This is an exciting year for us. We have really launched into this year full force. We have athletes in all events, and so having you as one of our athletes is something pretty special.
Well, I'm very honored to be on it.
So thank you for being a part of our team. But yeah, Community Coffee. So we're 103 years young.
103 years.
103 years, founded in 1919 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We are family owned by the Siraj family. And just to tell you a little story about how we got together, and it kind of connects to why we're in rodeo and how this all came to be and how did we get this name Community. So Cap Siraj was in Baton Rouge. He had a grocery store, and he decided that he wanted to serve coffee to everybody that came into his little store there in Baton Rouge, and he couldn't find any coffee that he liked, so he started making his own coffee. He's close to New Orleans, where the Port of New Orleans is where a lot of the great coffee comes in from South America.
Well, I was going to ask that because, if I'm a rancher and I'm like, I don't like the coffee I'm drinking, I don't know how to make
That's
coffee.
Right.
So
That's right. Oh, well, there went my earring. That's how I get so excited.
But
so you can't really grow it in Oklahoma, so I'm sorry to tell you that, but a lot of great coffee comes out of the southern region, and so anyways, he was close to that trade. He started to roast and make his own coffee, and people in Baton Rouge start coming into the store and not just shopping, but what happens in all these little small towns across the U.S., people come in and they talk.
Absolutely.
And as people talk, they talk about good things, they talk about maybe not so good things, but a lot of things can get done around a cup of coffee in a lot of communities. And so, in fact, during that time in Baton Rouge, a lot of progress happened, and it happened at his store over his cup of coffee. And people started to really love his coffee, love the conversation. And so it was in that moment that he realized, I don't really want to be in this grocery store business. I think I want to be in the coffee business, it's a lot more fun. It's connecting me to the community. And so I want to make coffee, and I'm going to call it community. And so that's how we came to be. Again, back in 1919. The Siraj family still owns our company today. We still have some of the same roasters. We have some of the same equipment that was done back in that day, and we continue to make that coffee. One of the things that was really exciting for me, again, I moved to Louisiana about 3 years ago and joined Community Coffee. And as I heard this story, really just trying to get a sense of, what's our purpose? Like, why, yes, we make coffee. We make great coffee, but there's more to that. And going back to that story, we realized that really what gets us up every morning is to help bring coffee and joy to those who make our communities best. And when you think about that, you think about across this country, who are the people that are really the bedrock of this country? And for me, growing up in a small town, my dad was a tie-down roper. I was around a lot of ranchers, and
so that's where the tie-down roping
connection
came.
So
That's everyone, where it started. People have asked me that a lot. They're like, "Well, they got a lot of tie-down ropers," and I'm like, "Well, they got a lot of athletes." Once I joined. So.
Okay. I'll have to tell Tuff Cooper that.
Yeah, he tied one in 6 and set the record in Nampa the other day. But.
Absolutely. So so that's therein lies the connection. So here, this Texas girl comes, meets Community Coffee.
Now, where at in Texas?
I grew up in Pilot Point, but I also lived in Ponder, Texas. So I would say Ponder and Pilot Point, Texas, are my 2 homes back in Texas.
But you're an Aggie, not a University of Texas Longhorn.
TU.
TU.
No, I'll say University of Texas because I am community right now. So I need to show love to all my Longhorns as well.
It is kind of hard when you're on a stage to actually talk about. But is college not the most fun sport to rank? I mean, like, they have the greatest fans. Sorry to go. This is going to happen a lot throughout the podcast.
I'm squirrel too. It's okay.
So we go to OU Texas every year, and it is the most fun that I've ever had.
It is fun. Who do you root for?
I'm a Boomer Sooner born and bred. And
I'll
be Sooner dead, all right?
Okay. Yeah. Hey, I actually will join your team during that game.
You will. So you're not a University of Texas, like, you're an Aggie, because there's so
I have
many.
To be careful. There
are a lot of good schools to choose from in Texas.
Okay, now we're talking about Leah Harrington personal, not Community Coffee.
Right.
So let me be clear, because we do. I have to.
Well, okay. So what's your favorite? What's your favorite SEC? Your favorite SEC Texas team?
The Aggies. Okay, Texas A&M all the way, gig 'em, go 12th man, beat the hell out of Bama, beat the hell out of everybody.
I knew it wouldn't take long for us to have a Cajun on here and we'd start having to use the swear jar. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Texas.
Hey, we have an official yell that we actually yell, beat the hell out of everybody that we play. Just so you know. A little fun fact. See, we got to bring you down to Kyle Field and also bring you over to the swamp there, take you into Death Valley, into LSU territory. The Tigers, man, the LSU crowd, they can get pretty rowdy.
I'm not gonna lie, my mother-in-law hates it when we play LSU. We played them in a bowl game here a few years back. Is that right? And she hates it. She's like, they're fans. They're the wildest. They're the craziest.
Well, so rodeo, when you think about that passion, here we are. We're talking about college. Rodeo has that same passion. You know that. And me as being one of those snotty-nosed kids that are at rope-ins every weekend. There's passion, there's family. Family's at the heart of that. Everybody in the family can do something, and that's something that's pretty unique, unlike football, where, yes, maybe but not necessarily the females as much, right? We're kind of up in the stands, we got our part, but in rodeo, in the Western world, everybody can do something, and we're all part of it, and it's kind of that fabric that weaves us all together. And so when I went to Community Coffee and started to learn that story and then learn what we're about, and we give a lot of, praise, and we give a lot of free coffee and do a lot of things for the military, for teachers. I knew that farmers and ranchers were also an important bedrock of this country and helped bring it together. And then the sport and the passion of rodeo just perfectly plays into our values, which are around family. We're still family owned, so we're family, faith, and love of country. And so as soon as I heard that, I said, hey, I know an audience. It's rodeo, and some of the folks in the office were like, rodeo, I don't know too much about that. So to prove the point, we actually did a lot of data science behind it, did a lot of drilling and data to make sure that it wasn't just me and my gut.
Right. So what you're saying
and
is
so
Cowboys are very smart. There's a lot of science.
Exactly. We went in and we researched and studied our audiences, and do you know that rodeo was at one of the top of the list that really, for our brand values, what we stand for, and drink a lot of coffee. They happen to like coffee, and so
That is a
As soon as that
fact.
happened, I said, you know what, I can get us connected. And so I made a few phone calls, and going back to the tie down rope, and my dad, he was not professional, amateur, but always, he came to Cheyenne. In fact, we're here at Cheyenne Frontier Days. He would come here every year, and he would sit here with his trailer. He'd walk in like he was a contestant. Like, he'd
You
park his
bet.
trailer, he'd ride his mule up to the arena, never, act like he was part of the group. But anyways,
What a
being around
fun
that,
time though.
absolutely. So it's always been a part. So anyways, well, I knew that tie down ropers were going to be a little safer than maybe some of the other sports in terms of injuries and maybe just some of that, and knowing some of these guys too, growing up with their families, I wanted to make sure that as we eased into it, and we knew that we were going into the right space, that we could go with people that represent, again, family and this love of country and whatnot. And so we started out with Shane Hanchey, Louisiana. Like, he get more,
Great
and that's the
guy.
other thing.
You don't get any more LSU or Louisiana than Shane Hanchey.
And he really has been a brother to me on this side of the fence, to help us, just come in, because it's been a while. I haven't barrel raced or done that in a while. I've been kind of doing my corporate jobs and whatnot, and so Shane's been a great advisor, mentor to us. And as you know, he always has a cell phone on him. Every time I hear him, he's somewhere. Like, he was up in Calgary about to go compete, and he's answering my phone call and talk to me about coffee that he introduced to the Canadians. So that's
Wow,
Shane.
that's cool.
And then you got Mr. Tuff Cooper. I mean, just a solid guy. He is, he's such a great brand ambassador for us. And when we're at Cowboy Christmas out in Las Vegas, that all those kids that line up for him and how he gets to their level is something pretty special.
That is so fun. And it's great having those. I think this is a great opportunity to bring up a signature living quarters moment. I like bringing, in any one of these Toter Tales, I like having a little bit of advice you want some kids to maybe take along the way. And there's two things I want you to touch on, because one thing you get all the time is how do we get sponsors? How do we start promoting ourselves to somebody to put their brand on us?
Yep.
And so I'd like to talk first about,
Okay.
the responsibility, and how people that come into you and say, hey, it's not what can you do for me, it's always what can I do for you. And
Yep.
two, I want to talk about, it had to be a big leap to walk into this corporation and say, hey, let's start sponsoring some rodeo stuff. Let's talk about how the chances you take and the rewards you can take.
Yep.
This be our signature
Yep.
living quarters moment. You want to live in style, rock the comfort and the style. Look at this picture of my baby. How cool is that? Our signature living quarters moment. Let's talk about it. Following your gut, and then what people need to do when they start trying to get sponsors gathered up.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because I do get that question quite a lot from certainly your junior athletes and even some of your professional athletes. And so what I look for when I'm looking to sponsor someone is, first off, are they going to be genuine, or a genuine fit, a genuine and authentic fit to us as our brand? We, as I mentioned, we want someone who has family values, and someone who has great patriotism for this country, etc. So that's kind of the basics. It's like, do our values align, and is this something that the other athletes and the others in the community would say, yeah, that makes sense. They are perfect for that brand. It shouldn't be force fit. The second piece is they need to genuinely love our product or have a passion for it.
Absolutely.
We're not looking to just give you a bunch of dollars and have you be out there to be a fake salesperson. That doesn't feel good to us as the sponsors, and also consumers can see right through that. People don't want to be advertised to by
Absolutely.
fake salespeople. The third is you need to be mature and responsible. I think as a parent, so I have 5 kids, and as you grow up in age, you start to see the world through a whole new lens, and that as you're teaching your children as well, is that everything you do and say, even if it's in the private moment, you need to act like it's in the public stage, right? And so there's a lot of risk that brands like ours can take when we put this brand on your chest or put it on your shirt. You're carrying now our name, and so we want to make sure that you're going to walk and the talk, and you're always going to represent us in a good light. And so looking for someone who is smart about social media and what they say out there, how they interact with their community, and making them feel valued and important. In fact, that's something that I look for when we interview our athletes and we're going in, is I want to know a little bit more. I don't want to just know your stats and how many championships you've won and how great you are in the sport. That's actually less important to me. I think those are just kind of the basics. It's about who you are as a person, your character, your word means something. Do you look someone in the eye and you say, yes, I'm going to do it, and yes, ma'am, no, sir, that's important. So it's all those qualities combined that we look for. And then after that, I want people that just are loving and just, are loving to one another.
You bet.
We don't, this world is pretty hard. This world is crazy.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why a lot of us got into sport, because it's therapeutic to be around, livestock and ranching. I mean, it's kind of nice to do what we do. So
I think you hit the nail on the head so great right there. And that's not, just for the community coffee brand. I mean, like,
no,
when it comes to,
yeah.
You're talking to a junior rodeo kid that's looking to go ahead to the next level and try to get those sponsors. Like, that's how we need to approach everything. Because social media, it can be dangerous.
Yes.
I mean, we all know that. There's a lot of dangers out there. This human trafficking class I'm taking, woo, it's got me on a whole nother level. I mean, my babies are 3 and 5, and I'm just going to be like, locking them up till they're 40.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But anyways, it also can be a great tool. And I think if people perceive it that way, that it is a tool, that it's, you can do a lot of good with it, and talk to your fan base and build a fan base, and, include everybody. Because I really think, and kind of the driving force behind, like what we do here, is I just started making silly videos of telling people, and it was more for like my extended family, like the people that didn't get to the Cowboy Channel, the people that just want to know how I'm getting along. They know I rope, or and today I've got some cousins that I haven't seen since I was 9 coming to the rodeo, and I made those videos for them to let everybody know what's going on. I don't call my mama as much as I need to. I know, sorry Spike, I will be calling him sooner, but just to let everybody keep up, because it is so hectic out here. And then it brings in everybody, gives them a chance to go along with you, and then all of a sudden people start following. And now more people know me because of those videos than do by roping, which kind of says something about my roping.
Well, if you think about social media, it really is the modern day resume. It's not, everyone thinks, oh, my perfect little resume when I go out to get a job, and want to apply. It's actually your actions, your social media, how you carry yourself is really the best resume, that you have. It's what you bring. The other piece is people want to know how you talk, how you walk, and and that's important, because they want to see, are you relatable to me? Is this somebody that is going to represent, getting back to what a sponsors look like. But in terms of the positive way, and what a great resource it is, how you can use it. So tagging your sponsors appropriately. Absolutely. And being timely. I mean, sometimes we have to put, little nudges or reminders out there. Not so much, surprisingly, not so much in this sport. Some of the other sports that we look at, we might have to nudge them and say, we know you're busy, we know you're getting ready for maybe the Super Bowl or something, but but awesome. No, so. And
I think every successful person that I've met along the way, be it in rodeo, business owners, everybody, there's always a point where you can take a safe route, where you have a gut hunch and you go for it, and you put all the chips in and you gamble on yourself. Is it to feel the same way in business? Like, is that kind of how it felt walking in there and saying, hey, I got this idea?
Yep. So I tell this to my team all the time, going and getting a degree, and I know you're going back to school, and that's a great thing that you're going to get that diploma, and I'm excited for you. That's a good baseline. But business is art and science. Life is art and science. Okay. I can't think of too many things that are just science and data. You have to make really solid decisions, making sure you've got facts, right? Not just on shaky ground. But you're not always going to have all the facts. And you have to really know and get to the root cause or the root opportunity that you're going after, and use your gut. If you've got a good gut, I would say you have to have a good gut. And so some of that is through trial and error, and you learn through life what you're good at, maybe what you're not so good at. So you were talking about your horse, and you start to learn a little bit about what your horse is good at and what your horse is not good at. Well, your gut's the same way. And with with what you do, it's art and science, right? There's science to the mechanics, but that only goes so far. So art sometimes comes by way of talent, sometimes comes by way of experience. And so what I always say is lean into that. Use all of your senses. I think I have been pretty successful I started in marketing and doing branding and whatnot. I feel like I am successful in that because at the heart of it, I was a consumer first. I love to shop. My husband knows this. I'm always shopping. I'm always watching. I'm always looking at signs. I'm always looking at what brands do. And that gives me that extra little common sense, I think, sometimes to me, gut, way of looking at things. So anyway, so yeah, coming into here, there was a little bit of gut. It's like when I heard, okay, faith, family, love of country, people who support each other, community, family. I mean, I couldn't think of a better world to think of. And so I don't know that I need a lot of data to tell me that this was the place that we need to go. But our shareholders and our board of directors would want to hear that versus who's this Texas girl who grew up around calf roping dad and tried to barrel race off a 21-year-old calf horse, and that's why I'm not barrel racing today, is going to tell us that we need to go over there. So,
well,
anyways.
you God bless your husband, because if you shop that much but you quit running barrels, sir, it feels like you got to win there, you know. As a guy who married a barrel racer who's raising 2 little barrel racers, I told my wife the other day, my 2 kids are polar opposites, but like I built my arena the perfect distance from the house, you know, where I can walk it off. By the time we get in for supper,
There you go.
everything will be fine.
So I'm trying to work on that myself, because I think growing up like that, like if I ever got too upset, it's like I'm headed to the barn. Like I just go to the barn. Today I don't have a barn. I have this garage, and now I back up to Lake Pontchartrain, so I actually back up to a swamp, and I don't dare go out there to go blow it off.
I was going to say, so you guys have gators, like, right?
We have gators. I haven't seen any, thankfully, in my backyard. I do have a lot of frogs, and here's the one thing I've learned about living in Louisiana.
You're a
and
frog
this,
gigger.
No, I'm not a frog gator, but I'm going to tell you, and you'll appreciate this. A lot of people who have cows will appreciate this. You know, your whole life, you're like, well, if the cows are laying down, it's going to rain, right? Like, you hear that story. Have you heard that? You're looking at me like you haven't.
I haven't heard that.
How can you be...
A rancher,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we're always
Okay.
just praying for rain so much. That...
Okay, so if the cows are laying down, I was always told it's going to rain, and that also means the fish are going to be biting. So those are some of those little things that you look for. I've learned that when the frogs, they get super quiet when they're supposed to be croaking, there's something brewing in the Gulf of Mexico, and then when they get really loud, there's about to be a storm in the next 72 hours. I'm listening to the animals back there.
72 hours.
I don't know. You'll probably get a lot of feedback from this, because you know I'm a transplant in Louisiana, so you're probably going to get a lot of feedback now from Shane Hanchy's probably like, oh my gosh.
She didn't just say that. She didn't
No,
tell
she
everybody
didn't
our
just say
secret.
that exactly.
So,
So.
Because Hanchy, let's talk a little bit. You know, Hanchy, another community.
Oh, and
gardening
Shad Mayfield.
ambassador.
I don't want to leave out Shad,
Shad's
because
a
he
good
was part of our inaugural. So Shad Money Mayfield.
He is awesome, isn't he?
He is.
He scared me at the town event with his bulldogging, like so bad. Like his first one when he leaned over his knee and like he almost grabbed him. He's still in the saddle, and I'm like, you rope way too good to do that.
Yeah.
And then he just steps off, wham, throws him, and I'm like, oh my.
He's a strong
lantern.
kid, right?
What?
Or he's not a kid. He's
He
kidding
is.
me, but
He's got it all, man.
Yeah,
He is.
he's
I
good.
did hear the other day about his work ethic was amazing. Like how he doesn't rope with everybody else around. Has him about 30 calves, runs him a couple, and then he gets it on. It's all business.
Yep.
And you see that, but that's what
Yeah.
people don't understand. So much of what success is out here is what happens when nobody's watching.
That's right.
You know, and I think it's like that with everything. But we were talking
right.
with Hanchy. He's got a craw. Okay, what is he? He's got his crawdad business or something, right?
Yes.
Like, what is it?
It's
I don't eat crawdads, so.
Bo's Boil and Go, I believe is the name. Yes, Bo's Boil and Go, and he has his crawfish.
Crawfish. See, I think I have crawdads
I know.
where I'm from, and I think you guys have crawfish. Is that
We
right?
have crawfish in Louisiana. In Texas, I used to catch them with bologna, and we call them crawdaddies, or mud bugs.
Okay, why do
But
people?
crawfish.
Why?
I don't know.
Louisianans, they love it. Like every time I go to Center, they're like, "Hey, let's order some crawfish."
And they are delicious. They're a lot of work. I'm still learning
Oh my gosh,
how to
a lot of
do
work.
it. There's
Look
a
at
lot
me.
of
You
work.
think I got time?
But you get some good spice, and it's so good. In fact, coffee. It's a good rub. Maybe not for crawfish, but a lot of meats and whatnot. So we do a lot of.
Community actually has a rub.
We don't sell it today, but we have it at times. So maybe I'll
Seasonal type
seasonal
situation.
stuff. But yeah, we've got all kinds of recipes on our website at communitycoffee.com.
Wow, there you go. Another signature.
Got to
moment.
check that
Thank
out.
you.
So and you can buy our coffee direct anywhere off communitycoffee.com. We'll ship it direct to you.
Because I think now that I've turned, I'll be 37 this year, and the first thing is so second episode I had Tiffany here. Felt like I needed to introduce her to the world.
Yep.
Let everybody know and of course you guys have met her. She is amazing, but she always gives me crap about not knowing her birthday. So I started off with telling everybody her birthday, and I didn't tell the year. And she said the first thing she asked me this morning, she goes, "Are you going to tell her birthday?" And I'm like, "No." Anyways.
Oh, but okay. So you were talking about Shane, and you're talking about work ethic. I do want to circle back on that because I think that's an important message. Because you're right, people don't see the hard work and what it takes to be at this level, right? To really, it's not like, well, even if you have all the money and you buy the right horse or whatnot, it's that art and science, but it's also that effort. So
I think you hear it all the time. Like this guy would make it if he had X, Y, or Z. And I think what's amazing and what was a huge motivation for me is a guy like Buddy Hawkins. He had none of that. He grew up right over there by me, and he made it long before any of
Yep.
you know what I mean. And I didn't.
Yep.
I had great parents willing to
Yep.
help me do everything, but I
Yep.
couldn't go out and buy the nicest horses, the nicest stuff, you know. So, I mean, the fact that I got this beautiful signature living quarters toter redone is a true testament to that I have a great wife that allowed me to do it. But, anyways, we, you know, you see those guys and it's like, no, you're missing grit, you know?
Absolutely.
Because if they really had it, they'll do it. I
Absolutely.
mean, those long hard days of missing it, you know, you
Yep.
spend $60,000 to $70,000 a year to do this. Like, that's
Yep.
what it costs. That's before diesel was dang near $6. So no telling this year, scared to do my taxes. But whenever you get to a point where you can come home in the hole, work a job, do whatever it takes, work that job all day, and then have to go rope at night. I mean, like, those are the people that make it. So I think that's the part you hit on the nail, like the effort.
You have to love, and that effort is fueled by love and
Absolutely.
passion. And so, you know, you get, and it all comes full circle to whatever you end up doing in life, whatever that profession is. You need to have that. You have to have that as your ingredient. It can't just be a paycheck. You're going to be miserable. And I think, you know, you hear that saying all the time. If you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. That's I feel like I'm not working right now. Like, I'm doing something I love,
Absolutely.
right? And we've got, going back to 100 years of making coffee, we've got people that just love it. I mean, they just eat that up. The folks that are back there roasting and blending, I'm still learning how that all comes together, but that love and passion through that craft, that love and passion through this you know, sport of rodeo, what you do in a career, if you're a young kid, or if you're even, you know, in your 50s trying to figure it out, as long as you're working towards that, I think that's kind of, you know, that secret ingredient when you're sitting there in your final days going, what does it take, you know?
That's what I took so one of my classes is positive psychology, and I've learned about the overall well-being.
Yes.
And so when you ask, like, at the beginning of the class, it talked about, like, what is success? Well, obviously that would be having enough money to be financially stable, my kids grow up, they, you know what I mean, have opportunity. Because I think as a parent, you're always looking to give your kid an opportunity you didn't have, you know? And I had great opportunities, and if I can do better than that, then where can they be in 2 generations or 3? And then when you start looking at it, that's one thing that I just wrote in my last thesis in my APA format. You know what APA format stands for, by the way? A pain in the A, buddy. It's actually American Psychological Association. I learned that last semester. Anyways, I don't want to get too all college educated here, but one thing I wrote about was, you know, it's not the money, because if you love doing something, the money will always come. You'll always find a way to make it work.
Absolutely. You know, I worked early on at a place where the lady who started a company with $5,000 and grew it to something pretty spectacular, a multi-billion-dollar company.
Wow, billion with a B.
A billion, multi-billion global. And she did it, she said, P&L does not stand for profit and loss. It stands for people and love. And she said, and I throw some passion in there. And she said, if we do everything right, you know, the money will come. And I've learned that through life. You're right, absolutely. When you have that passion, and it'll come. And that goes back all the way back to what we look for in athletes that we want to sponsor. Do they genuinely love what they do? Or they, you know, do they really have, are they burned out and just kind of, you know, on their last leg? We want to, our sponsorship helps provide you funds to, you know, to continue to do what you're doing, and to, you know, be an ambassador. You know, we want to help provide the means as a sponsor to help people that are truly just like, this is what they love to do. I'll tell you, you know, being right there around the New Orleans area, we sponsor the New Orleans Saints, and when Drew Brees was playing, you know, you can check out some of the videos. You know, love or hate Drew Brees, one thing you have.
I don't know anybody that hates Drew Brees.
You know,
like, even if you don't like,
I don't know, maybe Cowboy fans, I don't know, but
my partner Logan Medley, he may not be the hugest Drew Brees fan.
But there's some videos of Drew Brees that after a game, like, he will be the last person out there still practicing, you know, just to get it right. And the great athletes, you know, I think I heard Michael Phelps say something like, what set the difference for him is something like most Olympians, and I'm not going to get this right because I don't know this, but something like most Olympians have something like 50, you know, they'll do, if there's 52 weeks in a year, they'll practice, you know, 50 weeks of the year, and he did all 52, even when he was sick. He said, I figured, I did the math, that if I practice, you know, that many more days than the next person, it's going to pay off. And
man, that's awesome.
So,
you know, I heard a deal, of course, Kobe's been on the, you know, his now in my Toter home, I've got in motion satellite, so I get to hang out and watch my sports, you know what I mean? Thanks again, Signature Living Quarters. Anyways, I can't brag on this enough. I wish you'd have seen it beforehand. Like, I would have never shot a podcast.
It's nice in here. I'm going to use the word bougie. I don't know if you know what that word means.
I know, it's in a song, isn't
bougie.
it?
Like Applebee's.
Fancy like Applebee's.
Yeah, on a date night.
That's right. I love it because songs like that, they really do mean something.
Okay, here I am now. I'm plugging Applebee's. Applebee's better start selling our community. We better start
kick it in there.
Serving some community coffee.
I love it. But there was a guy who was talking about he was playing against Kobe that night. So he showed up early, did his drills, this and that. He said he showed up, Kobe's already in the gym. He said he goes hard. Like he practices for an hour, and then he's fixing to go get ready for the game. And he said he stopped and he watched as Kobe continued practicing.
Yeah.
He went for exactly another 30 minutes. At the end of the game, he said Kobe run me over, and at the end of it, he said, "Man, I saw you practicing. Is that like every day? Like what? Wow." He said, "No, I saw you come in, and I wanted you to know that I was always willing to put in at least half as much, or like twice as much effort as you. Like that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's."
Yep.
People think, I hate hearing that all the time about like these people, X, Y, and Z. They had this, or that. Like no, you'll figure.
No.
Like if they truly had it.
Yep.
Because I think one thing that you hit on there is a company like Community. Like you're not giving somebody the dream to rodeo. You're watering the soil that's already fertilized.
That's right.
It's got to be in there from the get-go.
It's already got to be in that DNA. And if you think about Kobe, think about yes, he did all those extra practices. Michael Phelps, Drew Brees, etc. But they also think about their character and think about the community that they built around them. Think about Drew Brees was the guy in that locker room getting everyone pumped up. You think about people like you, people, in this sport that you're out here getting other people excited about what they're doing. And you might be competing with the next guy, but not really. You're also trying to foster a community, a sense, a rally cry around something. And if you're always leaving people better off than how you found them, and you could be a stellar athlete and do all that, but then when you add that other piece, that other aura that you put around yourself, like a Kobe Bryant. Look at the legacy he has left, because he was a great athlete. He did wonderful things on the court, but he was humble, right? There's that balance, because as a competitor, you have to have a little bit of a, I don't want to say, you have to have confidence. I don't say ego, but confidence, right?
Well, I think one thing that's great about our sport is we're always competing against an animal.
An animal, right.
Right? It's like the best run I can make on him.
But you could be really overly confident, right? And then not really. You could be great and do all those extra practices and be extra confident, but if you come out and then you don't really treat people right, it's like no one really wants to see you win,
Absolutely.
But like a Kobe Bryant or any of the great athletes, any greats,
that's when you talked on Shane Hanchy. That's one thing you always see him.
Oh,
every end of the arena, always helping other athletes.
Every time. When he's at an event, he'll come over and say hi, but he's working. Like he'll be back helping somebody, in the back of a bullpen. Then he's back of a box helping someone get their horse just right.
Absolutely.
Riley Webb is another one that I'm excited about.
Hey,
we had dinner
awesome.
with him last night. Let me tell you. Yes.
It's just seeing him from the last couple of years, and like where he's going. Wow, that kid's gonna be amazing.
Yep.
It is amazing. So one of the things about Hanchy, I love telling this. So OU maybe played like the Big 12 championship game, or so I've got OU actually painted on my horse's hip at the NFR, and who's in the corner but Mr. LSU himself, holding my breast collar, kicking it down, helping me out.
Yeah.
Let's go now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Shane
I'm excited.
Hanchy.
We've got Jordan Briggs now, Haley Kinzel.
Jordan's wow. I love Jordan Briggs. So then her husband Justin.
Yes.
He was so funny. We're always talking about horses and roping and heading. So I'm always like, hey, here's what we need to do. I need to bring my wife down, and they can go ride. Her and Jordan go ride, and you can go rope. He's like, absolutely, I'll be your 4D friend. What a great family, though. What a great story. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely. And it's been fun this year adding some others to the team, and just great personalities. We have Tyler Wagasback, Sarah Wagasback. So that's the other piece. We've got some husband-wife teams, and that's been really cool. So we've got Taylor Hanchy, and that was important for me as a sponsor, because if we're going to sit here and say, that we're family owned and we care about families, I think this is an interesting sport where we could actually support on both sides, a husband and wife team. That's something pretty special that we don't get to do in many of these professional sports.
Something that we might be able to start fitting into is start picking you some team roping teams, and maybe sending a counselor with them along the way. I don't know, kind of like a couples counselor that just
Hey,
your
there you
community
go.
coffee sponsored.
Hey, maybe that's the next step for us.
Because you're going to get interesting right now as we enter the fourth quarter of the rodeo season. There'll start being a lot more. It's fun. I'll never forget this scene. As I flew out, I hadn't been to Walla Walla Slack. I was actually maybe flying in. We're all going to San Juan to a big rodeo, and you could just see headers over here, healers over here, this group, that group. None of the teams were hanging out together. It's just like, yep, it's the Northwest, and we're all on the boat. You know, one good thing, and that's this. You know, you hit on earlier about coffee. There's so many deals made over it. You know, in the morning, every morning that coffee maker gets put down and we start one. And now I actually have a fun game. What I do, it's like a little coffee roulette. You know what I mean? I just kind of reach in the box.
See what you're gonna get.
And come with it, because I really want a box full of pecan praline. If you haven't tried the pecan praline, oh my goodness. And and of course Tiffany, she loves the white chocolate mocha.
Yep.
Our
iced latte.
Yes, at night she loves those. I like the little espresso shots.
Yep, right? The espresso and cream.
Like, I'm not sure, but I tied a steer at Cheyenne in 11. If I'd have had an espresso shot, I might have been 8. I don't know. I mean, it'll get you moving.
I'll tell you, all the bull riders are coming back. They said that they actually prefer drinking the coffee a little bit more than some of the higher energy drinks because it makes them too jittery. Yeah. It's a little too, and so we have just I guess we're smooth energy. Maybe that's our new tagline.
Ease into smooth energy.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh my gosh, my creative team is like, oh gosh.
What is she firing?
What is she doing? But
you're just blame it on me.
Yeah, exactly. What happens in here, I guess.
What happens in the toter?
That's right.
On the toter tail.
But speaking of coffee, almost half of coffee drinkers today like cold coffee. It's not just about the hot coffee in the morning.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not one of those people. Like Buddy Hawkins gets his, and I've mentioned Buddy a couple times now because he's a huge coffee drinker, and he's always my fascant anything coffee, right? So I talked to, he loves ice cold coffee, and I'm like, that just doesn't taste right.
There's team hot and team cold.
But like the espresso cans that you put in the fridge,
yep,
I love them.
Yeah, so so a lot of people don't know this, but we have the canned espresso and creams that you can find, and we sell them on our website. And we've got distribution is starting to get out. We've got it more maybe in the Texas, Louisiana markets, but soon enough you'll see those on a major airline. I'm not going to say, but anyways, something may be coming there soon. And then we also have iced lattes, we have vanilla waffle cone and white chocolate mocha, and we also have a new flavor coming out, pralines and cream, which is going to be delicious. So and they're lower calories than most of the lattes, and they're
good.
They're good for you, and they have real sugar cane. Because sugar cane, we're in sugar cane.
Oh, that is down there in the south.
Yeah, capital.
Now, right so side note, are you a boudin fan? Does anybody in Louisiana not like boudin?
I like boudin. I definitely do. I didn't know what it was before I came, but
it comes in a weird presentation.
It does, but you don't think about that. You just eat
it. Squeeze it on the cracker.
Yeah, just kind of like the same thing you do with crawfish, right?
Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm a meat and potatoes guy. I bet, and my wife gives me crap all the time. She's like, hey, you don't ever eat any of these things, and my kids love vegetables. I don't know where that came from. But I'm like, I eat everything my mom made, right?
Yeah.
We didn't make boudin, but my neighbor Mickey Clayton,
it's delicious.
He loves it, and he brought some back from Louisiana, and it was amazing. So now when I go to the Rib and Chop House, boudin balls, they're amazing.
I will tell you, that's the most special thing for me moving to Louisiana. I don't think we were in our house maybe 24 hours, and we were already invited to 10 crawfish boils and brought over boudin, and it's just that community, that camaraderie.
Right.
And that's something pretty special. I
backyard barbecues
and crawfish.
Backyard,
absolutely. And coffee.
That is, that's how we start our day every day. And it kind of brings you a sense of home. When I'm home and I'm getting, get up in the morning, my wife hops in the shower, I go start the coffee, and then I start getting the girls ready. And, it's just kind of it kind of brings that little piece of home with you.
What do you think? So when you smell coffee, does your brain, do you think of something? Does it take you somewhere? A lot of people say that when they smell coffee, it's like memories of,
Man, honestly, Thanksgiving Day. And pre-Thanksgiving Day, because as hectic as our lives get in the winter and like kind of coming up into the finals, it's kind of the funnest time because a lot of people are around, coffee's brewing, because then we don't just do the Keurig style, we go ahead and put the big pot out, what I mean, and then that just wafts through the house.
Yes.
And so it always, I guess when I smell it, it's always those times when everybody's at the house, we'll just sit around there and visit for a little while. My aunt and uncle come out every spring and rope with me, and every morning we're doing the same thing, that and burnt bacon. My Aunt Sherry, she'll burn the bacon if you don't care.
my
But
gosh.
it is fun, and I really do. It's been an exciting opportunity to be a part of your team. I love the coffee. It is amazing. The first time I had it was at Claremore at the Slack, and had a big swig. I was like, wow, that's good. Because honestly, when you first start drinking coffee,
Yep.
it's like, I don't know if I love it or hate it, right? Like, it's kind of a acquired taste, if you
Right.
will. But man, like the nose right off the bat, whenever I had the first breakfast blend, was like,
Yes.
wow, that is smooth and
Yes.
good. Because I'll sometimes do cream. I mean, there's darker coffees that, hey, that might require a little cream. I always
Yep.
like one ice
Yep.
cube, maybe two. But,
Well, when we're roasting, you can over roast to where it gets that bitter, taste. And I think that's part of one thing that when you're doing it for 103 years, you start to learn, like your horse, like when's it going to start to be bitter and when is it going to be sweet.
one of my first opportunities to hang out with your team was down in Weatherford, Texas. And I have a good friend of mine, John Wayne McDaniel, J-Dub, the Wahoo. He goes by many aliases. But when you first started with community, I said something about, hey, this ranch, we're community coffee drinkers only now. And so he's an old pipeliner. He's a Folgers man, right? And he tells me about it. And I'm like, well, you can keep that crap in your truck because when you're on this ranch, it's community or none.
There you go.
And so anyway, so he gives me this big reason because I guess he worked with a lot of Louisiana people that's the first time he'd heard of it.
Yep.
And they would pour out a whole pot of Folgers coffee just to make their own community coffee,
Yep.
right? And so he was joking with me about that. And so when I walked in the bus down there at Weatherford, Texas, and first met Ryan and visited, I was like, this is my friend John Wayne. I do have to apologize. He's a Folgers man. And I mean, he went running backwards so fast. No. I mean, I loved it.
Well, and I hear that from time to time. Folgers been around, and it's a great brand too. We use different beans. A lot of people may not know that, and that's why it tastes different. So Folgers uses more of a robusta bean, and we use Arabica. When you look at the word on the packaging, my friends were like, "Is that Arabian?" I'm like, "No, it's Arabica. That's how it's Arabica." And it's just it's a different quality of bean. It's a higher grade of coffee. It's what you'll find, some of those $20 coffee, $20 bags of coffee will all be Arabica beans. So we use Arabica. So that's one thing a lot of people don't know is our price point's very affordable, but we use the Arabica beans.
I was going to say,
and so it's a very different bean than what you're going to get at Folgers. It's not a like for like. So, and it's grown. You'll find it in higher altitudes in South America, and it brings out different notes of flavors and everything. So there you go.
Higher quality beans at an affordable rate. That's what you get at community coffee. I love that. That's amazing.
Well,
That's a tagline.
we want our brand to be for people sitting around the table trying to figure out their community, progress, woes, or whatnot. So talking about where I'm from, in Pilot Point, you could find everybody around coffee, right before a football game on Friday night or after the football game, contemplating if we were going to win or not win or who did what or whatnot.
Absolutely.
And then every now and then there would be something sprinkled in about someone's not mowing their yard or, hey, we need to fix this stop sign. And it was always, but those are fun conversations that just bring people together in a community, because even though you might be on different sides, if you can come together and just talk face to face and do it over a cup of coffee, maybe not whiskey. You could have a little bit more level-headed conversations, but
productive anyway. And I think that is an element that's missing nowadays. I talked to a good friend of mine, right there around the presidential election.
Yep.
And this is this is not a political show at all, but I think the part that sticks out to me is we've lost the ability to talk.
Yeah.
Like just sit down and here's my view, here's your view. And that's what, because he made the comment on the phone. He said, well, I don't like talking politics with friends. It's a good way to lose them. And I was like, that's terrible. If we're friends, we should be able to talk about it. Like we should be able to say, hey, I respect that you have an opinion, and you respect that I have an opinion.
Yes.
And that's what makes all this world really go round, because sometimes it's that friction that builds a fire of progress, in my opinion. And that's what I love when you talk about let's bring people together, have a cup of coffee and visit. Because I think honestly, if we would all sit down at the table, I think we're a lot more common than people think.
Yes, we are. And it all goes back to just being, the true definition of what it means to be community.
Absolutely.
And I think about, the greatest community is America. I mean, this country is the best country in the world to live in. And we got here because I felt like we could sit down and we could figure out our ways and have a spirit of moving forward. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think if we just sit down and had a cup of coffee, who knows what we could figure out. Hey, Coleman, maybe you and I need to run for office.
Man, I tell you what, one day maybe. I
Hey,
don't know. I would do.
I think you should. You've got the right.
I
Yeah.
do not want to start airing out any of that dirty laundry. Wow. Coleman,
All right, let's talk about something else then.
Right. No, Coleman quit college. I
Oh,
know, it's crazy though, isn't it? That's what
I
had to
know.
think.
You're like,
I
what
had
did
to-
I do in 8th grade?
You
I
gotta
don't
go back
know.
a
Like, you
ways.
really have to go back. I don't know. I mean, I was catching crawdads with bologna. Is there any controversy there? I don't know.
What kind of baloney? You know what I mean?
Whatever was rotten.
Oh my gosh! See, I didn't know that bologna goes rotten. I didn't know that. I thought.
Oh,
It did.
yeah.
I just thought it changed flavor.
No, it actually can mold. I do know that because, yeah. I mean,
There's your little community
listen.
tip.
Oh gosh.
Bologna can mold.
I'm sorry, Oscar Mayer.
That's
No, that stuff
amazing.
does last long. But anyways, I don't
Well,
know how
and
we
I
got on
do
that.
wanna
Let's talk about
thank
something else.
When they introduced me on the Cowboy Channel, they used the greatest picture of me steer tripping, which was amazing. I loved that. I was like, I've showed all my friends. Like, I'm on the community team, steer roping. That's amazing. I love that. That was my favorite thing ever. It was so awesome.
Well,
I mean, I've had a blast with you today.
Thank
We
you.
kind of both aired that, like, maybe we might not be able to stay on a straight line with it, but
That's
I thought
okay.
we did pretty good.
Well, okay, you have to make me one promise. At
Yeah,
some
yeah, go ahead.
point, you're going to need to teach me how to. I want to learn how to head.
Well, we'll go get started right now. It's easy. If a college dropout can do it anyway.
Okay, would you recommend starting heading or heeling? What do you recommend?
Man, I think I like starting people when it comes. Heading is obviously it can be safer, and I think now with all the tools that we have at our disposal,
Yep.
mechanical dummies, steers, where we can control the environment of progress, and that's where so much of any roping starts with balance. And you're right, because one thing and I actually just had a dear friend of mine, Shane O'Hara, was helping his beautiful fiance Brittany. I was helping her with her heading, and she's a barrel racer, much like my wife, barrel racers, and we're all as barrel racers. It's a different point of when we get with our horse. So then, you've got to start from the ground up, teaching them to get balance as your horse leaves. That's what allows me to get my swing online. Then it makes everything just fall into order. So heading is always my favorite to get people started. But here is one thing that I disagree with completely is I have a lot of junior rodeo parents bring me kids and say, well, I don't let them heel because it messes up their calf roping, which messes with their head, and which messes with their heeling. And I'm like, it's all the same stuff. You're swinging over a target. It's all about angles. So anything that you can rope is great. I don't care if you're a header, heeler, roping kids. All of it can go together. When I've started steer tripping, you won't believe the amount of advice I've gotten on how to rope the horns. Now, provided I win a lot by roping necks and half heads, but at the end of the day, it's still roping horns. It's still angles.
Yep.
It's still a simple game of put my tip where I want it, and I catch what's swinging over. So I like starting people on the head, but because that allows us to control and work on their balance first in the saddle, and then once we have that, and then they can learn to be using their legs, then they're always using their left hand to keep them out of trouble instead of getting into trouble. So
That's great advice. Thank you.
So did you rope as a kid growing up? I mean, Dad's a calf roper. You obviously had to rope a little.
Dummies. No,
Dummies.
nothing live, except my sister who's
You
sitting behind
made
me.
You made it your whole life and never rope.
No. I was always. You know why? Because I
Sure.
was always the one working the chutes.
Now that's important right there.
So I was always the one with the
What
cattle
a
prod and
skill.
up there, and then making sure everybody's who's up next.
and
And then going and getting the cow, and then loading the cattle. I was the workhorse.
You know how I knew my wife was the one? So I won the George Strait Open in 2010. We win $80,000, brand new truck and trailer. I mean, it is the greatest day of our life, right? And so we're gonna go celebrate. We're going to steakhouse, and I'm hoping that I got enough room on my credit card to pay for the steak, even though I got this check for $80,000. You know what I mean? We were balling on a budget, if you will. Well, anyways, when we got done, I mean, the whole day I was like, man, we're trying to build our place together. We've been together long enough, like it's time to start moving forward. And so I looked at her and I said, would you like a ring or a barn? And she said, a barn. And I'm like, she is the one. And then when I built my arena at my house, 2017, she said, I want the chute with the button so that I can be back here pushing the steers up and not have to walk up to open it. And I'm like, I love you. Like, you're the greatest woman that's ever walked.
That is awesome. Well, I was just out on Mount Pleasant visiting Eddie Prefert and being out there with him and the family, and he gave me an awesome tour, which that place is magnificent.
Those guys are innovators.
Oh
man.
my gosh, they are not just innovators; they are a get it done. If the supply chain has been kind of challenging, if they can't get anything, they're just going to make it themselves and keep chugging along. And man, they make some great quality products. Well, anyways, I'm out there and I was telling him my story about, I was pretty much the girl that, I was the person getting all my dad's calves lined up and getting them in the chute and working the chutes. And I said, hey, how much coffee can I give you to get me some? How much coffee would it take to get one of these chutes, or how with a button? And I said, hey, so when did y'all invent that? Because that would have come in handy. Maybe then I would have been able to rope.
So long before they ever made the preferred score chute, we have what we call the Oklahoma score, which is where you take a lead rope and you tie it to the chute, and then you put it inside and you tie it to the steer's horns, like you stick it on there. So that way when the gates bang, because if you've only got 4 or 5 steers,
right,
when the gates bang, he'll kind of move and trick your horse, right? Problem is, I roped all kinds of different sizes of cattle, right? So then now I'm back in old switchblade in the box, and Steph's up there working the gate, and I'm like, hey baby, put the score rope on, I need it. Well, she put it on there, but it was made for a bigger steer, and so this little steer jumps out, now he spins around with her like she's tying him from the chute, you know what I mean? So then that kind of ixnayed my my lead rope. So when I bought it, I bought the score shoe because it was like, I don't want to deal with that again. It's amazing how many things in life are driven by, I just don't want my wife to yell at me sometimes. You know what I mean? Or it's just easier to, like, my dad told me when I got married, he was my best man. And he said, son, in marriage, you're going to have the opportunity to be right or happy. Choose happy. Right? And he's been married 3 times, so I figured he knew what he was talking about, so that's what, it's funny how many things are driven by, this will make my wife happy.
Right. Hey, that's important.
Bam.
So.
Just like a good cup of community coffee.
Right.
It's going to make my wife happy in the morning. It has. She's been like a little kid, you know what I mean? Like, ordering stuff. She's like, oh my gosh, I want to try this, this, and this, this, and this. And I'm like, hey, maybe Stella doesn't need that mocha shot before she goes to daycare. I don't know.
Just keep her happy, Coleman. Just keep her happy, Coleman.
It is. It is funny how every morning that just kind of brings in, a little piece of home into this total home. You know what I mean? Like I do get to roll in luxury thanks to my good friends at Signature Living Quarters now. But, every morning we fire that up and everybody has a cup of coffee and we kind of take a moment and get our day started together.
All is right when that's going on, right?
That's been awesome. And I thank you so much for coming and sitting down. It was a great opportunity. This is actually our first time to meet face to face. And I figure we're better than the Toter Tales podcast. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being such a big part of my rodeo dreams and helping my family as much as you guys do. I sure appreciate it, and I hope we contribute back the way we should.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to talk about all kinds of fun things.
It was fun.
It was a pleasure.
It stayed pretty well on the highway between the mustard and the mayonnaise.
We did better than what I thought. I thought we were going to be even more squirrely.
Now, you talked earlier about direct ordering coffee. Where can people find it?
Absolutely. So, communitycoffee.com, and we will ship anywhere across the U.S. You can find us there. We'll ship it direct. You could also find us not everywhere across the country, but along mainly more your southern states from Texas, Florida, up to the Carolinas. You can find us in Walmart. You can find us in Kroger, Albertsons, Rouse's, a lot of grocery stores, CVS, Walgreens. You'll also find us on Southwest Airlines every time you fly. So make sure you order the coffee.
Absolutely. Wow, what a day. Well, I got to ask you one final question in closing. So you got 2 team ropers from Oklahoma, me and Joseph Harrison. Obviously, which one is your favorite? That was Leah Harrington.
I was going to say, well, you, because I'm sitting here right now, and I'll go tell Joseph no.
I thought I'd try to catch her one time. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a blast.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you
Once
so
again,
much.
this is Toter Tales, ERS, Gun Night, and Ready Mix. Check them out, 972-935-5769. Well, till tomorrow, everybody. If you ever get the opportunity to make somebody's life better, it's never a wasted moment. Goodbye, everybody.